Hi friends, I'm Shauna. Welcome to the channel and welcome into the second week of No Buy January. Today we're going to be talking all about supports for your no buy. So how could you best support yourself on your journey, whether it's 1 month, multiple months, a year, and we'll be talking about how you could use supports to help you be successful, as well as how you can use supports to really make your no buy as maintainable as you can make it. So as week 1 comes to a close, how did it go? Was it easy, difficult? Did it get progressively easier or more challenging? Let me know how it went for you in the comments below, and hopefully we can support each other and give encouragement to keep going. 2 big questions are, did you buy anything? And how did your rules go for the first week? Did you feel like they needed any tweaking? Were they perfect, too easy, or difficult? Let me know all of your thoughts in the comments. I actually bought a pillow this week only because my pillow desperately needed to be replaced. And it's one of those things where whether I buy it now or in 3 weeks, I'm gonna buy it. Like it genuinely needs to be replaced. It's a 1-for-1 replacement. So it didn't make sense to me to not buy it now and wait 3 weeks so I can, be out of the no buy, when in reality, I could be using it 3 weeks sooner, having a cleaner, newer, more hygienic and comfortable pillow. So that's what I bought this week. I found this week to be fairly smooth. A large part of that just being busy. I find that the busier I am, the less time I have for scrolling and, the compare and despair, and just having less time overall for Instagram, YouTube. And when I have downtime, I really want to cherish it and use it to the best of not the best of my abilities, but really relish in that downtime. So when it comes to downtime and free time, it definitely factors into supports. And we'll talk about that. So let's take a little small update about my first week on my no buy. Now let's get into the video, and we're first gonna talk about, creating supports, what they are, kind of what they might look like, what you might want to consider. And then in part 2, I'll show you mine. We'll do like a little tour. Let's now turn our attention to supports themselves. What are they? Why do we want them? What may they look like? And a support is anything, and I mean anything, a document, a worksheet, a spreadsheet, an alarm, anything that will help you stick to or maintain your no buy. The best no buy is the one that you can stick to. That's it, plain and simple. So when you're creating your supports, you might want to consider what will help make my no buy maintainable, or as maintainable as I can be. In my opinion, when it comes to maintainable no buy, there's 3 factors: rules, habits, and supports. Supports are very important because they are the things that can help set up or maintain habits. So those 2 really feed into each other, and we'll talk about habits in the next week or 2. And supports can also help you embody your rules. They can do other things, which we'll talk about. But I think that supports, being able to support a habit, is going to be, or is one of the crucial reasons why supports are so important. Making your no buy maintainable is the most important thing. And this is why I talked last week about rules and just being cognizant of overly rigid rules, because it doesn't matter if you know that you've broken your no buy, which is why a lot of us want strict rules. You want to account for every kind of situation, but do strict rules actually allow you to purchase in ways, or save in ways, or not spend in ways that are desirable to you and maintainable? If you're somebody who's never budgeted, or it's been a while, or you're somebody who has just shopped a lot, constraining all of those things, or constraining your shopping all at once, changing your habits dramatically all at once with overly rigid rules, truly might not be something you can stick to, and is not something you can maintain in the long run. So it doesn't matter if everybody else online is having really strict rules. If you can't maintain that, you're not going to stick to your no buy. And there you go. So as you've already started to live with your rules, how are they going? Like, were you able to stick to them? Did anything feel like it would be such a reach? Sometimes when it's come to budgeting, while I have money to play with, I've constrained all of those categories so much that I feel like I literally can't buy anything, like even food, right? Or even transportation. Or it feels like I shouldn't be going to the gym because then I could save $55 or $50 or whatever it is. If your supports are too rigid as well, then you can't, or be difficult to maintain your no-buy. And I was also tempted to include something like motivation within the big three things that I consider central to a maintainable no-buy. I was really tempted to include motivation. And the reason why I don't consider motivation as much as I think people will is that motivation and willpower are absolutely finite resources. You will never be motivated 100% of the time. So relying on motivation and relying on willpower, I think are going to get us into trouble because then we're relying on something that is actually not reliable. So if we can think and turn our attention to habits, then motivation becomes irrelevant and you can maintain something longer term. You can absolutely use motivation to your advantage, which would be something like going on No Buy January. In January, when you are the most motivated to change your habits, that's perfectly fine. So, playing to its strengths is a good thing. So playing to, your strengths and when you're most motivated is absolutely a good thing, but also know that you're not being motivated for most of the year in the same way that you are at the beginning of a project. So author of Atomic Habits, James Clear, when it comes to changing habits, he says there's two things. You want to make your habit, like the habit that you want to have, as easy as possible, and the habit that you don't want to have, the habit you're trying to change, as difficult as possible. So if you're on a no-buy, you want to make saving money or not spending as easy as you can make it, and you want to make spending money or buying stuff as difficult as possible. And so when I'm thinking about my supports, when I'm thinking about how can I best support myself on my no-buy, I hate the word undergird, but what is undergirding my supports? What is the foundation of my supports is this idea of how can I make my no-buy as easy as possible? How can I make not spending money as easy as possible? I'm going to give you an example, and that is meal prepping. The reason why people tout the benefits of meal prepping is because it embodies this exact idea that James Clear talks about. It makes healthy eating or eating in a desirable way as easy as possible, right? And this is a support that you can have that will support your goal of healthy eating or saving money. If you meal prep, you're most likely saving money as well. It makes eating in the way that you deem desirable as easy as possible. It makes it accessible. And how many times have you heard people say, or even yourself, that if you have healthy foods on hand, already there for you, like right in the fridge, you're more likely to eat them. So we need to find our meal prep equivalent for the no-buy. And I think one of the ways we could do that is batching things, like you batch cook. So creating all of your documents or spreadsheets all at once, doing it at one time, so they're all ready to go for you and not kind of creating them as you go, because then you might not have time, like saying you're going to cook a meal on Wednesday night and then you don't and you take out, you know what I mean? Like you've been there. So do them all at once, and then also make them easily reproducible every month, easy to access, easy to replicate. So when you're making your supports, you might want to consider some of the following. What would give me the best chance of success in maintaining my no-buy? How can I create systems, and what systems, if they were in place, would help my momentum? What would motivate me to keep going, and what would demotivate me? And what are some ways I can make my no-buy fun? For me personally, going after or adding some fun into my no-buy, my projects in general, is something that I really strive to do, because when I'm actually enjoying what I'm doing, then I have no problem doing it and I want to keep going. And while I did just talk about motivation, and I was, saying, we should avoid it at all costs. There are things that we can do that could give us an incentive to keep going. So this is what I'm talking about when I mean using motivation to your advantage. Don't rely on it. Don't make it the central focus of your no-buy habits. If you're going to make anything a central focus, make it habits. But you can add in little tidbits of motivation that will incentivize you to keep going, or maybe incentivize you to keep using that support. So my 3 categories of supports are fun, motivation, and systems. So fun for me would be contentment projects, and I'll show you about that in a little bit. Contentment projects are things that really get my mind away from stuff and shopping. They are distractions of a sort, but I also just love a project and I love experimenting, and that just plays to things that I enjoy. So when I'm enjoying what I'm doing more, I want to keep going and I'm not interested in shopping. Contentment projects are also in some ways distraction projects, ways to keep my attention away from shopping, scrolling, and negative behavior. I truly love when I can experiment, be creative, and add some novelty to what I'm doing. Contentment projects offer that, and they can look a lot of different ways. They can be really about makeup or clothing or fashion, but they can also be about hobbies or the way I spend my leisure time, or even some like self-development inclined projects too. And so if you're interested in maybe using a hobby or trying to get into a hobby as a support, you actually have to do the hobby. And while you might have best intentions for, let's say, art journaling once a week or painting once a week or something like that, your supports can't actually make you do it, but your supports can help you, like maybe remind you to do it or help you develop the habit of doing it. So like you could set an alarm for, let's say, giving your mom a call every Wednesday night. Or you just get like a Google notification. Or you could set up something like that for a regular Sunday paint night. So just with hobbies in specific, as I was just talking about how do you make your no-buy as easy to do as possible, just bring that same question into anything that might not be explicitly no-buy related. How do I make not scrolling on Instagram as easy as possible? Or how do I make staying off Instagram as easy as possible? Or how do I make scrolling on Instagram as difficult as possible? You can bring that question in to any kind of sub project or something that might not on its head be explicitly no-buy related. I personally try to limit my Instagram use as much as possible because while it doesn't explicitly relate to my contentment year or not shopping, it makes me feel happier and more fulfilled, and therefore I'm less likely to buy stuff. So it is related for me. And so I have my little timer and I have to like reset it. And it's kind of a big deal to like reset the whole thing. And that's one way or one support that helps maintain a habit, that helps maintain my overall project. I hope this makes sense. So when it comes to motivation, I have things like a budget, an account savings kind of tracker, an empties tracker, panning checklist. And for me, it's kind of like, what can I create that I can check off or track? That is so freaking fulfilling to me. I obviously went overboard last year when I tried to track all of my spending. It was like way too much and not fun. That's something that was not a support. But the way that I've set up my goals, which you'll see, is truly something that helps motivate me because I have like a progress bar. And then systems, my wish list, my goals and project database, and then my life admin day. These are things that help maintain systems that help support good behavior. If you're like, what, Sean, I'm confused, we're going to go jump in to all of this stuff right now. Well, hello, welcome in. We're going to now talk about some of the supports that I've used for my project. And we're going to go there now. I say some of them. We'll just go to my Notion homepage. Here we go. I say some of them because I've filmed this talking about them all, and I was here for an hour because I just love Notion. I'm a Notion girly. Most of my supports are on Notion. Can't shut up about them. I also love planning and goal setting and all of that good stuff. So I hope that this part of the video is helpful in helping you think about what you might want for yourself and the kinds of supports that you might want to have for your project. We're going to go into motivation first. And the first category of that would be trackers. I have my empties tracker here. This is the one I use for 2022. I love the crap out of this. It just has a lot of customizability to it. And the feature I love the most is the rating system. I do actually offer this in my Etsy store if you want to buy it. With some other things, there's a makeup tracker in there too. If you want to make it, use what you see here, make it, go for it. I like those two features best because I will be rating it or, filling this in relatively close to the time I actually finish the product. So my feelings are fresh in my mind. By the time I come around, like even if I do year-end empties, by the time I come around to needing a replacement for a category, I might not remember how I felt about the last thing or the last couple things I used if I used those 6, 12, 18, even 24 months ago. This keeps it top of mind. And this is something, while it is practical, I get so much joy out of filling in my chart and seeing the progress, seeing how much stuff I've actually panned and gotten out of my collection this year. This chart isn't up to date yet. There's a couple more things to add before I do my empties video. Love this. And I totally encourage you to track just about anything that you can track that would be exciting for you and in the way that is the most exciting for you. If you're a paper person, do it on paper. If you actually want to do a physical check, like a check mark, create a resource for yourself that has a check mark. If you're an Excel person, then do Excel. Other trackers you could consider would be makeup trackers. You could also do various kinds of spending trackers. We'll get there. You could do outfit trackers or outfit logging. You could also do, I have a one line a day here, kind of like a similar vibe, at least I think, although it's not a tracker, physical things. You could do like a pantry tracker, like panning stuff in your pantry. You could do like a project panning tracker. You could do so many different kinds of trackers out there. This is just one of my favorites. Another simple one I have here, a daily accomplishments tracker. You just, every day, you would just add in the date and then write in one good thing, even a small win of the day. Simple one. Another simple one I have this year is my panning checklist. It's exactly like it sounds. I get to check off all of the things, and I am so excited to be able to individually, one by one, check off those boxes as I finish them. I'm a simple person, and I love being able to do a check, So that kind of stuff is motivating to me. Now, let's talk about budgeting. I'm going to show you two different trackers here, and this is my real template, but these are not real numbers for either of the things I'm about to show you. So this is very helpful to me because I have every month laid out in a visual, so I can see the month at a glance. You just add in all of your expenses. And then this category right here is, I think, the thing that makes this extra motivating, because these are my estimated costs, or what I would consider a goal. In a perfect month, here is how I would like to spend my money. And I have my savings here, all of my costs. This is what I would like to strive for every single month. This is what perfect would look like. In reality, I know that things don't shake down quite like that. Like, we probably don't experience perfect months. And if we're, at the top, or we're trying a budget for the first time, the first couple of months might really just be a lot of trial and error, which is okay. But the goal gives you something to strive for. If I could make a recommendation, if you are new to budgeting, my recommendation would be to create a flex spot My number is $50 or $60. And this is just rollover money. This is to support any category that is just eating up a little bit more expenses than you accounted for, or just purchases that you didn't account for and are just like kind of surprises, and they'll help you absorb the cost. I usually use some money in my flex category every month, but not all of it. Just kind of depends. The other thing I really love is my account tracker. Again, not real numbers, but you have every month kind of laid out at a glance. And then you have your goal. So how much money would you like to save or add to this account every month? The same as the budgeting. So if you want to, let's say, save $1,800, that was the example of savings in this example budget. Then your goal might be to keep $1,000 in your checking, put $500 a month away every month for your TFSA. That's a Canadian thing. Or you might also have like your RSPs on here. And then it can give you something to strive for each of your accounts. And then month over month, you can see your account grow. And then you can also add in the function to plus or minus across cells. So, if your starting balance was $23.48, and at the end of January you had $33.48, you'd be able to plus $1,000 from the month before. And you can see how much your accounts grow and how much you save. You could also track for like an individual expense if you wanted to do that in an Excel sheet. I'm doing that in a physical printable. That way I can like color it in. And for me, it's more so like, here's how much money I would like to save this year, which $10,000 or $20,000, however much you want to put in, then you can like color it every month. And that gives me something to strive for an individual goal. But I like this overall in terms of like my bank accounts, because even though I am tracking a specific goal, I could in theory save up, let's just say $5,000 or whatever, $20,000. I could theoretically save it up, but if something comes up and I have to spend it, it's not actually being used for that. So I like them both. And ultimately, I don't think I talked about this a lot, or if I did, I don't remember. I had a version of this, although on paper in 2020. This was single-handedly the largest or the biggest motivator for me, watching my bank accounts grow and seeing how much they're growing every month. And that was so freaking motivating. So if I could encourage you to do something, budget, but also track your accounts. It's just, to me, it was incredible. And I can't believe I forgot about it and only remembered it this year, because I could have been doing it for 2 more years. But we're on it. We're on it. Hold, please. It's a coffee break. As we leave this category and we head into systems, you could qualify any of these as systems. Just depends on your outlook. I qualify these as motivating because they're not hard to implement, or they're on the easier side to implement simply because they are so motivating. And really trying to play to your strengths as to what inspires you the most would be a great way to start for the motivating category. Now, let's get into systems, and I want to show you probably my favorite template that I have. And it is this intentional purchasing template. And the reason why this is incredible for me is because in my mind, when I have all of this stuff, or when all of this stuff is sitting in my mind, I'm not conceptualizing it as $200 or $400 worth of stuff. I'm conceptualizing it as like $10.99 or $5.99. And I'm not adding these expenses up. And so I don't, you don't have them added up in reality. So when I have them here added up, this is everything that I want at the moment. I did not see it as $450 worth of stuff. So if you can get yourself to actually update this regularly, I think it will have its intended effect. Now, it is the reminding yourself to use it regularly, or getting in the habit of using it regularly. I do find this really satisfying to come in and tinker with, because if I have a budget of I'm allowed $200, let's say flex money, adding in all of this stuff here allows me to kind of finagle the budget and see what would fit in my budget this month. So I do get some kind of pleasure from this, but I also know that that's not going to last all that long. Like it's going to disappear in a couple of weeks, if not a couple of months. So how do you make using the tracker regular, rewarding yourself potentially, or setting an alarm, or habit stacking? When I go and fill out my to-dos every month or every morning, come in here and give this a little check, or do it every night, like pair it with my gratitude journal, which I do at night, kind of having those things together. I think pairing this with the gratitude journal will be a really great step, because if I do the gratitude journaling first, I'm in this gratitude moment, and then I can put in my stuff here, and then we're all set. My chart has the date of interest, the item of interest, the price, the number of items. Okay, let's say I want to buy bathroom hooks, right? Or food containers here. There's 6 of them. So having this idea that I'll be bringing in 6 things, or everything on my wish list is 61 items, helps me think about things too. Do I have room for it? Do I have space? Do I want to manage all this stuff? Where I'm buying it from. I also have categories. So I have 4 or 5. Really want, really need, replacement, nice to have, makes life comfortable. The reason why I have nice to have and makes life comfortable is because when I just had wants, needs, and replacements, I was finding myself justifying things that are really about comfortability and not necessity. And I was justifying things as necessities. And then I came to really think about things as, oh, I need this. When no, you don't need it. It's just nice to have, or helps me be more efficient or effective, like a spice rack. No matter how much it is, I don't need it because I have a spice rack. However, all my spices are just like kind of jumbled up. They're kind of cramped. It's not a cute situation. So, and then we have the product category. I mostly want home stuff right now, and then if I purchased it or not. So this is just everything all at the moment. I also have a saving up category. So this is stuff that once I've put it in here, I realize that would be more expensive than I would have money for 1 month. Or in this case, I would like to make a trip to IKEA in the next couple of months. So I'm putting in all the stuff that I would like from IKEA so I can prioritize what I can buy now, maybe what I might need to buy used or secondhand, or push off a second trip in, let's say, 4 months or 5 months, where I can save up again and buy whatever I can't get now. So it gives me this idea of how much money I'm going to need or to make my purchase. And then we have the yeses. I have purchased a pillow. This Rimmel Stay Matte Powder is one I'm probably going to buy, but it's kind of here for an example. So you'll see how much money you actually spent. When you make something a no. So when you write something on the list and then you are like, I don't actually want it. So we'll do this, for example, the Rimmel Stay Matte Powder. We'll turn that yes into a no. It comes down here, and this becomes a list of all of the money that you didn't spend and all the money that you saved. So far, we'll remove this. I have saved $41.44 because I was this close to buying all of those things. This isn't stuff I theoretically wanted. No, this is stuff that I almost bought. There's also other categories here, like how long did I wait before I bought it? Why do I want it? Does this align with the life I'm trying to create? How will this impact my life in 2 years? I was really good at filling this out in the first part of last year. It kind of waned a little bit. I might fill it out for some of these in a little bit, like my IKEA stuff, the kind of like the bigger purchases. But for smaller stuff, I don't necessarily know that I need to justify that every time. And I did find that it was a barrier to using this chart. So I think we'll keep it off for now and see how it goes. I absolutely recommend you do a wish list of some sort somewhere and in a place that's maintainable. I've tried paper ones. They have not worked for me. So this has been the thing that's worked and I've loved it. I can't underestimate how much I love this, or undersell, I should say. The last thing is my yearly planning and goal setting setup. A version of this went into the Contentment tracker. And this is, well, let me show you the full page. So we have all of the goals, and then we have what was the goal in brain dump. Now here is where I have my larger level goals. So things like create a space that brings me joy, appreciate my wardrobe, appreciate my makeup collection, things like that. And then all of these kind of check boxes here are things that are ideas that would fit within the goal. This is kind of, after trying some things, this is what worked. Now I've taken this stuff here and then implemented into this goals list. And where I can, I've added a progress bar. I did this last year and I loved it a lot. And I was updating stuff fairly regularly, like every 3 to 5 days, depending on the goal. Sometimes I would come here every couple of weeks to update the larger goals, but I was in here fairly regularly checking up on my progress and making sure that I wasn't forgetting anything. Now, this kind of goal setting template, I know it can seem like that New Year's type of like, what goals do you want to accomplish? And you might be thinking, well, how does this relate to my no-buy? Or how does this relate to the contentment year? All of my goals for the year are related to my contentment year. Like I've gone in and thought about what do I think would bring me contentment? What do I think would help? And then I've translated those into projects and action steps. Okay, so let me give you an example. We have No by January. And we have motivation, contentment. How does this relate to the contentment project? What would success look like? And then you have your action steps. This kind of action step thing I currently use one of the templates from August Bradley. Here it is. This is the action item database. This is where I heard about it for the first time. This one is just called supporting actions, so I don't, confuse the two. And then you set up your supporting actions here. I can show you what that looks like. If you don't have Notion, this is irrelevant. I find it helpful for me to make all of my goals explicitly contentment focused. So, because that's my biggest thing of the year. I do have some personal goals that I want to achieve, but even those are all contentment related. I do have some business ones, but those are the ones that I feel like I could make contentment connections if I really wanted to. So if you want to make something like this, what kind of goals would you have to support your no-buy year? What do you think would help you in your no-buy year? So if you have, be satisfied with your makeup collection, how can you do that? And this kind of thing here is where I personally figure it out. And this is where I spend all my time. I tweak and I add, I keep playing around with stuff. Like this one doesn't have the contentment added in yet. I haven't edited the template. When it comes to supporting actions, I've already started to add in some supporting actions to help me in this romanticize my life category. When I go into the quarterly view, this is where the supporting actions go. So there's always stuff linking to other stuff, and I'm always seeing it, always top of mind, and I can always go in and fiddle with it at some point. Well, this is how mine looks. What I really just want to reiterate is creating the systems. And this is the system that I have in place. And because I've been using a version of this for over a year, it's already ingrained in me to check it out. When it comes to starting new things, my one line a day is right beside me at my desk. I literally have Google reminders to check this, to check that. Not every day, but to check my things. And you can batch stuff, right? So this might sound like I've created a lot of stuff in a way I have, and I've done it all at once, I took a couple of hours here and there and set it all up, and then I fiddle with it as I go. But when it comes time to actually filling it out, so if you want to make this easy, right? You want to create systems and habits. Batching stuff together, I think, will work well. Have a timer for your weekly stuff and for your monthly stuff. And then, habit stack for your daily stuff. So when it comes to weekly, my weekly stuff would be, would be my budget and would be my goals and planning project database. That's probably weekly. My wish list is kind of as needed or daily, but if I, as I mentioned, stacked it on with my gratitude journal, we're good. My monthly stuff would be my account savings tracker, my empties tracker, my planning checklist, that kind of stuff. I might kind of go in and do some refreshing. But if you literally set a timer for 20 or 30 minutes once a week or once a month, you can lump all of the stuff together so it's less, so you don't have reminders going off every which way. And then you're doing it all at once, kind of getting it out of the way, just making it easier for yourself. The last category is fun. And for me, it's the contentment projects, which we've already we haven't really talked about the contentment projects, but I just feel like those are really specific to me and not necessarily a no-buy year. Everything that you've seen so far has been a contentment goal or a contentment project. So Shop My Stash, contentment project. But my bingo, contentment project. Reading 65 books this year, contentment project. I also have a contentment projects database, which has kind of been defunct a little bit because I haven't found this super useful and I like the goal setting one better. I've just kind of been experimenting with both of them. One other thing I really wanted to mention, if you're somebody who loves who wants more fun, I think finding ways to incorporate hobbies into your life, into your tracking or something of that nature would be really great. One thing I was thinking about would be if you're somebody who does art of some kind, art, journaling, sketching, digital art, knitting, crocheting, like whatever it is, even making outfits, we could call that art, or makeup looks, we can call that art. So you could set up a board or even like a physical journal, like physical, digital, whatever you want. Even do it in like a Word document or an Excel file, doesn't matter. You create 12 blocks. I feel like I have to show you what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about. Here we go. Card size, large. Okay, here we go. So we would do 4 and then we do 4 by 4. Right? But we'll just do this as an example. So you'd have 4 by 3. Each one would be a month. So January, February, March, April. And then for each card, each block, you would showcase the art that you did that month. So let's say your goal could be 1 per month, like crochet 1 thing a month. You would upload the picture to your card, which you can do on Notion, or if you have like an actual journal, then you put, 1 in each block. Or if you've done multiple, you can put all of them in there and then just put your favorite on the top. And then you have a year at a glance of the favorite things that you've created this month. That could be an incredible project to make sure that you're doing the things that you love and you're tracking it in a way and like having the showcase here as a way to motivate you to keep going. So there's so many ways that you can support your no-buy, and just keep some of those questions top of mind. What would help me succeed? What would help me maintain my no-buy? And how do you get more of that? How do you make your no-buy as easy to do and even as fun to do as possible? That's it for me today. Thank you so much for hanging out and joining me for this video. I'd love to see you back again here next week for a new no-buy January topic. I would also love it if you would follow me on Instagram, because we started uploading some fun no-buy content there, and we're only going to be doing more in January. I would love to have you, and thanks for watching. I hope to see you again around here soon.